The third rule under the general rule of maintaining power is use concrete and precise language. By doing so, you hit the target right on the mark, the bullseye. So you want to make your words hit the target. You want to use specific, definite, and concrete language rather than general, vague, and abstract language. Doing so will hold the reader's attention longer, and they will be able to visualize and conceptualize images and ideas with less effort because the language will be more vivid and manifest. Some of the examples I shared under the active voice rule also apply here. You recall the example, I'm sure. The reason why he left university was his health became impaired. All right, so that example is both an illustration of using the active voice and an illustration of using as few words as possible. Before we look at how to make our writing more concrete and precise, we need to know that words have three levels, okay? Words have these three levels. Far, so for example, the word animal is a word that we would say is a far word, okay? And then we have near words, okay? So dog, all right? So we have the large category of animal, and then a subcategory would be dog. Okay, so it's much closer in terms of specificity as animal. But if you want an even closer up word, a word that is even more concrete and will give you a better image, then we have, for example, the word German Shepherd. Okay, so a German Shepherd is, of course, one breed of the larger category of dogs, and a dog is a specific type of animal, right? So you want to use more close-up words and fewer far and near words, okay? And the more of these close-up words that you use, the better and more concrete will be your writing, okay? So the reader, when he or she reads your writing, he's able to visualize what you're saying, okay? It's easier for him to put images to what you're saying. Let's look at some examples in order to illustrate what we mean by concrete and precise language. All right. So let's look at the first example of vague and dull language. I like independence in my work. Okay. What is the problem with this sentence? Well, first of all, what do you mean by independence? Independence is an abstract concept, right? What you mean by independence might be different from what someone else means. Okay, we all have our own concept of independence, and we have our own personal definitions of independence. And likewise, in my work, work is another abstract concept. Okay, so we have here two abstract concepts in one sentence. Okay, now compare that with the following. I like being my own boss. Okay, so now we know exactly what we mean by independence, right? And we know what we're talking about in terms of work. Right? We're talking about some sort of context in which you have coworkers and colleagues, and you have superiors, right, or bosses. So the specific sense of independence here has to do with the idea of managing yourself and not taking orders, basically. All right, let's look at the second example. She had great success in her business. All right, so again, we have two abstractions. The first one is success. All right, what is success? How does she define success? How do you define success? And her business, which business? We don't know, right? It's just an abstraction as far as we know. Now let's compare that with the concrete and precise example. She increased her company's customer base by 12% in 6 months. Okay, so we know that she is the owner of a company, or at least she has some sort of managerial position in this company. Okay, and we know exactly what is intended by success. Okay, we're talking about the customer base. Okay, so they basically grew the number of customers they have in the last 6 months. Okay, from whatever it was to 12% more than that amount. Okay, and let's look at the last example. The fact that she did not know the language was a great hurdle. Okay, so first of all, we talked about this before. We want to avoid the phrase "the fact that." Okay, it doesn't really add much meaning, but it does make her sentence needlessly long. And what about language? Which language? Are we talking about like a language that people speak? Are we talking about some sort of coding language? Which language? And it was a great hurdle. A great hurdle in what way? Socially, professionally, academically. In what way was it a great hurdle? Okay. Well, let's see. Because she was unfamiliar with Python. Okay, so we're talking about a coding language. She was passed over for a promotion. So it was a great hurdle in terms of her advancing her career. So she wasn't promoted because she didn't have the knowledge of Python. Let's look at some more examples. Hotel guests are served with kindness. Okay, so they're served with kindness. What does that mean? Does that mean that their breakfast is brought to their rooms? Does it mean that they are treated in a very, kind manner in terms of how they're greeted, how they're, dealt with in the lobby, etc.? What does it mean exactly? Well, we don't know, right? It's vague and it's dull. So compare that with the following. Hotel guests are served with a warm smile. You see? So the difference is obviously that with the first example, we have a very fuzzy image of what is being, expressed, the meaning behind this. But in the second example, we know exactly what the writer intends. Okay. There have been rumors that they are divorced. Okay, so there have been rumors. First of all, again, we don't want to use phrases like there have. It doesn't really add much meaning, but it makes your sentence longer. So there have been rumors that they are divorced. Okay, so what does this mean? There have been rumors. Are they divorced? Where are these rumors, coming from? What's the source of these rumors? Now compare that with this. I read a Facebook post about their possible divorce. You see? First of all, I made it, active rather than passive. And also, I've made it more concrete, right? I've stated exactly what I mean by rumors. I'm talking about a specific, Facebook post. And that post indicated that they may be divorced. All right, let's look at a third example. A period of unfavorable weather set in. Okay, so we have a few issues here. First of all, a period. So how long is a period? Is it a day? Is it 2 days? Is it a week, 2 weeks? It's a vague term, right? We don't know exactly how long a period is. And unfavorable. What do you mean by unfavorable? Unfavorable in terms of weather could have very many, possible meanings. It could be, you know, unfavorable in terms of being too hot, or it could be unfavorable in terms of being too cold, or being too wet, or being too icy, or being too windy, you see? So there are numerous possible interpretations of unfavorable weather, okay? So we could rephrase this possibly with the following. It snowed every day for 2 weeks. Okay, so now we know exactly how long, and we know exactly what the unfavorable weather was. It was snow, right? It snowed every day for 2 weeks. He showed satisfaction as he took possession of his well-earned reward. Okay, 3 things here. First of all, how did he show satisfaction? Did he utter something? Was it a facial gesture? What was it? He took possession. How did he take possession? Like, what does that mean exactly? And what is his well-earned reward anyways, right? Is it something something like a car? Is it money? What is it? All right, so let's look at a possible rephrasing of that. He grinned as he pocketed the $1,000 check. Okay, so we know how he showed satisfaction. It was through a facial gesture, a grin. And we know exactly what the reward was. It was a $1,000 check, $1,000 check. There is a general agreement among those who have enjoyed the experience that skiing results in great exhilaration. All right, so again, there are abstractions here. This is a very wordy way of expressing something that could be expressed in a much more concrete, precise, and concise manner. So we could say instead of that, everyone who has skied agrees that it is very exhilarating. Okay. In proportion as the manners, customs, and amusements of a nation are cruel and barbarous, the regulations of its penal code will be severe. All right, so there are a lot of abstractions in this sentence. Well, first of all, manners, customs, amusements, okay, are abstractions or abstract ideas. Cruel and barbarous are also abstract. And likewise, severe is abstract. Okay, so compare that with this rephrasing. In proportion as men delight in battles, bullfights, and combats of gladiators, will they punish by hanging, burning, and the rack. Okay, so I think the difference is pretty clear. Okay, now we have specific, you know, illustrations and instances of these manners, customs, and amusements, and we could really visualize it, right, and understand what the author intends, and understand the, you know, the bigger picture and idea behind the sentence.